So we'll take a cement trowel. Scraping off the soot transfers the heat better when I cook the next time. Now the inside is left over from, we cooked out a batch and just let it sit in there, so it's all kind of sweet and sticky. Oh, that's good. So I brought some warm water along. And I'll scrub it out. I scrub it between each batch, usually about 5 times a season. Warm water makes it clean up pretty easy. That's pretty good. We'll dump it, then rinse it. That's pretty good. Now I'll put it back in the sap shed on the sap cooker. Let's see. When we took it off, it was still cooking. So we put a tins over the top. Looks pretty, not much ashes in it yet, so we'll put the pan on. Looks pretty good. Now, usually I level it, so I'm going to go over, collect some sap, and bring some in. I've got my strainer. I always strain the sap, so let's get that out. I have to put a strainer pad in it. Slippery under there. Put the strainer pad down in, and then it wedges it in with the center part. So I'll go over and get some sap. We haven't dumped sap since Saturday, so, and it got snowstorm Saturday night and Sunday, and then it was too cold, so it didn't really run much until running today, a little bit yesterday and last night. This trap is doing 1 drip per second. And so is this one. Probably should show you on the north side of the tree, it's dripping even faster. Drip, 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 drip. That bucket's a small one. It's pretty full too. The one over there isn't running hardly. Sometimes you get a bad spot when you drill a hole in the tree. 1 drip, 2, not quite 1 a second. Now let's go put some sap in the pan and see if it looks like it's level, shall we? The ground is awful greasy. The snow melted and underneath it's still frozen a little, and so the top is wet and slippery. Those 2 buckets gave me about 4 gallons of sap. So I put some in and see if it looks like it runs all over the pan. same depth. A little bit high on the back. Well, not much. So that's essentially ready to go, except for starting a fire in it, which I'll probably do in the morning, depending on how much sap I collect tonight. So let's see if we can start the tractor up and go over and get a little more sap here down on the around the sap shed. So with the tractor, I charged it up, the battery good. As it sits, it goes dead. Turn on the gas. Put it in neutral. Pull the choke out a little bit. I always, when it has sat a while, I always give it a shot of starting fluid into the removable plug in the manifold. So I'm going to do that. I keep it finger tight. Four seconds of starting fluid. Put back the plug. Make sure it's in neutral. Switch on. setup. Let's take a look at the area behind here. When it melts, comes down from the hills right through my driveway and down over the hill here. Okay, there's the driveway and the sap shed. And then this goes down to the lake. It's kind of wet down there. You can see it's running underneath the snow. Some years, and after a big rain, it's like a little stream running down, washes away my dirt. We'll go over here to the pipeline, see how it's doing. I think there's 18 taps on the hillside up here. Old big maples that do pretty good. I was up here this morning and threw out a big, what looks like a bathtub of ice, because it was already full. So let's see how it's doing. It's not a big enough tank. Let her settle down here. Running a pretty good stream. Some air bubbles in it, which might mean I've got a leak up on the lines up the hill. I had already dumped out about 6 gallons of sap this morning. Really heavy ice. That was floating upside down in there. I'm dumping it back into the gradually the stainer plugs up. There's little bits of bark and sediment and things in there. So the strainer pad strains those out, and then after a while you clean the pad or else replace it. So let's see what it looks like. See, it has a bunch of sediment, a little branch on it and everything. So well, put it back in, it'll run better. Across the road to the, I think I got 10 buckets over there, and then some along the hillside here by the sap pit. So we're going to try those, see if we can get enough to get 50 gallons and fill the sap tank. The old bulk tanks that I used to use when I tapped a little more. The lid blew off in the storm, but it just snowed since, so I'll dump those. These hadn't really started running yet. Can't tell from here. That's the lake down over the hill. There's some nice maples on that hillside too. I don't tap those too hard to get down unless I put in pipeline. Looks to me like way at the bottom of the hill, a brush pile in the lake is probably a beaver house. Huh. Nothing in those. Yeah, right down there. Now we go across the road here. The town crew came by with the brush mower and mowed along the ditches here. That goes down, our property goes down the bottom of the hill where the lake has a stream come out, and the stream is actually the boundary. Now a little melting down through here. Some years this is really wet down through here. It melts out once, but the last snow of maybe 8-10 inches at the most, maybe less. It's kind of light, so there isn't a lot of water. Maybe an inch of rain. I have just like 4 or 5 trees right out along the edge that we tapped in here. There's a lot more back in. These are almost all ash trees, these big trees. And just over the hill, they're starting to die from the ash borer infestation. There's a couple up there. So I expect these will all die within a year or two. I think I'll saw some of them into lumber with my Harbor Freight bandsaw Sunday. See what it turns out like. There's a really nice straight, another one. That tree there that we're coming right up to, you see the white spots on the bark? That's the ash borer. So it is actually over here already. Well, looks like there's some in these buckets. All right, let's collect some sap. Well, it's pretty windy, so I thought these lids are just laying on top. It's starting to drip. See the ice down in there? Ice is mostly just pure water, like an iceberg in the ocean isn't salty, so I just toss them. and then I don't, I figure that that's what the Indians used to do too. They'd toss the ice out and then they didn't have to cook as much. Well, we're going to take some of the sap out of the barrel and fill into the pan. I have about half full, which would be about 30 gallons maybe a little more than that. So we're pretty high tech with our sap. What I've got is a submersible utility pump that I made a hole in here large enough to get it down in there, and then a relatively long hose that goes into the sap pan. Then I plug it in to the extension cord. And then I go inside and I plug in the extension cord while holding the hose aimed at the tank. So let's see how that goes. I need something to hold that down. I usually have a C-clamp, but that rusted so much. Let's see if that's true. Yeah, that looks like it might work. That holds about 50 gallons. So the next part is I decide if I want to start the fire. So we get some cardboard and some raisin bran, an old newspaper from 2018 from the Twin Cities. Actually, they had a little more paper, I think, in those days on the Sunday one. Sap looks really clear. I don't have a cup up here to take a drink. We gotta bring one. I can hear the pump getting low. It's okay, it's sitting flat on the ground. Pump went dry, so we unplug it and hang up the cord